Welcome to this week's episode of Lambgoat's Vanflip podcast. Here we are once again with Chris Fox, but we're not talking about the band he was in. Well, we'll talk a little bit about the band you were on here last with. See you next Tuesday. We're going to talk about the band previous to that. You're a flesh and blood robot. You're resurrecting flesh and blood robot. And then you guys just did a show and you had a very special guest, and we'll get into that. But, I just wanted to kind of start by saying I remember very vaguely from my early days seeing Flesh and Blood Robot on the internet, and you may have even come down to Florida and played some shows prior. And I think we talked about that on the last podcast, but it was quite cool to see it kind of, come back in today's time. So how'd that all come about, Chris?
Well, we got approached by Wax Vessel quite a while ago about putting out our one and only album we ever put out. And our guitar player for Flesh and Blood, Nick, he works for Kuma's Corner in Chicago. I'm not sure if you're familiar or not.
We're very familiar. They do the burgers.
They're like metal burgers. Yeah. So when See You Next Tuesday rolled through Chicago, Kuma's did a burger for us. And because, Nick works there, and, I kind of mentioned to Nick while we were there that Wax Vessel was interested in putting out the album. And so we just kind of got the ball rolling on that. And we thought it was kind of weird, like if we didn't do something to accompany the record being put out on vinyl finally. So we decided to do a show. It was, at the time, it was just meant to be hey, thanks for everything, just a kind of a one and done type thing, but it looks like it's gonna keep going now.
Gonna be a little bit more than that, huh?
Yeah.
I know you guys
apparently
nothing set in stone, so don't get everyone's hopes up, but you guys had been off the radar for almost 2 decades, 18 years. I mean, it had to have been kind of weird to get the kinks ironed out and to get everybody back in the same room.
Yeah, it was it was like our high school band,
Yeah.
So everybody was centralized in the same spot back then. And now we're me and Nico, our drummer, just moved back to where I live here in Lansing, Michigan. And then, like I said, Nick lives in Chicago, and Eric, our bass player, lives in Denver, not Denver, but just outside of Boulder, Colorado. So we're spread out everywhere. And then, of course, our special guest lives in Nashville.
Yeah. But I mean, we can get back in. We can just dive into that because that was actually pretty cool. And I will have to say, I was very surprised that not that many people covered that. I was quite surprised no one cared.
We got a lot of coverage in the bluegrass community.
Right, yeah.
Which was super funny.
But I didn't see any other outlets.
Not so much in metal. I don't think. I don't know why, but.
I think it's cool because one of the things we try to do is showcase when the worlds blend in together, whether a sports person or a personality on TV wears a band shirt or something like that. We try to kind of shine some light on that. So hey, hardcore kids or metal kids we're all out here in the real world, even where you don't think. So that's why when I saw that. Billy Strings, that's who we're talking about, the bluegrass current phenom right now. Billy Strings played with Flesh and Blood Robot on their Lansing, on their home show they recently did. A week ago? 2
weeks ago, I believe.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know, the 17th of March.
Yeah, you're right.
That was.
I was in Chicago, so it was kind of as close as I could possibly be to you guys while you guys were doing that,
right?
Without being there, but. Yeah, so you had Billy Strings kind of join you, and I did a little bit of research and found out that he's from that area, and I kind of noticed Billy Strings through that Dust in a Baggie video. I'm sure a lot of people found him through that video, but when I saw that video originally, I was like, that guy looks like a hardcore kid with all the tattoos and tight pants and probably he rolled some cigarette packs in his shirt sleeves. It kind of felt like, but yeah, I mean,
probably not just cigarettes, but yeah.
Well, when you're seeing songs about Dust in the Baggie, I can only imagine.
Right.
But so how did that even come together? I mean, clearly he's probably been a fan of you guys because he's a little younger than you or I or anything like that. So he probably grew up listening to stuff like that in your area.
Yeah, so like you said, he's from the same exact area that we're all from. I think he's like 7 years younger than I am. I'm 40. I think he's like 32, 33, something like that. Um, but I mean, when we were all 19, 20, he was 12, 13, just shredding guitar in, bands with people the same age as us. They'd be opening local shows for us and whatnot. And he'd just always be at the shows. So we've known Billy for, since he was a little kid,
Oh. So
So,
what was he in
yeah.
bands back then? Like was he in like extreme or metal
Yeah,
bands
he
back
had
then?
a couple like metal bands. That was like his thing back then. And then he grew up on bluegrass though with his family, like his
Yeah.
dad
Yeah, yeah.
taught him. From what I understand, I'm not like a a Billy Strings historian by any means, but
I can confirm. I think I've watched a couple of videos where he talks about just being
yeah,
raised in that atmosphere, yeah.
but yeah, he just grew up in the same area. We've known him forever, and we asked him if he wanted to do the reunion show with us. Because he's always expressed interest in like having the album on vinyl and whatnot if we ever did it, or I sent him a shirt a long time ago,
Hmm.
and he was all about it. He said yes, like pretty much immediately.
Yeah. I wonder how long it took. Did it take him a long time to kind of figure out what was going on, or did he kind of just pick right up
And
with the
man, he
playing?
picked most of it, right? I mean, it's not, this is all 20-year-old stuff. It wasn't super hard for him to figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but it's not his typical
Right.
thing nowadays, So he had trouble with our more like technical songs here and there, but not much. He nailed it.
Yeah.
So.
So that was pretty cool. I mean, in general, was it a big surprise to like? I mean, were people kind of aware of what's going on, or was it more of like a when you got on stage, everyone kind of lost their mind?
Well, the day before the show, we practiced 3 days prior to the show, like every day,
Mm-hmm.
because it was our first times being able to practice with Billy. So on the last day, so like the Saturday, he mentioned that he wanted to live stream a song from his Instagram. And from there, the cat was pretty much out of the bag, and fucking everything around here fucking went ape shit,
Yeah. Yeah. I can only
because,
imagine.
like our whole hometown fucking went insane and pretty much showed up at the show.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's a good way to get people to the seats in the or butts in the seat, as they say.
Right.
Yes, that's crazy. I mean, because I went back through our news, our news plethora of data that we have for all sorts of
Mm-hmm.
news for the last 20 years. And if I look up Flesh and Blood Robot, there's only 5 items. 3 of them are current, with Billy Strings and
Right.
reunion show stuff. The other 2 are like your tour schedule in 2005 and you were seeking a drummer in 2006, the very beginning of 2006. So
Yeah.
it's been a long time.
Which is
since,
why we split up, because
Yeah.
we never found one.
Yeah. Well, then also, as most people probably know, you kind of started doing another project, See You Next Tuesday, who you were currently
Yeah.
still doing.
Yeah,
So,
I think I left Flesh and Blood in May, and I ended up joining See You Next Tuesday by like November or something.
yeah, and that's been going fairly well. So
Yeah.
good to get that done with, but not done with, but moved on with.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you guys from a Second Story Window was on that show, your recent show as well, and a couple other
Mm-hmm.
bands. That must have been
Yep.
cool to get back with them as well.
Yep, them and Nights Like These
Yeah, Nights
are
Like These.
the homies, for both like I met both those bands from Flesh and Blood Robot, before See You Next Tuesday.
Yeah.
So it was like kind of necessary for them to play the show, which was pretty much the same exact lineup as the From a Second Story Window reunion show.
Right. Yeah, it was a good one though. It was a good time.
Yeah.
So you guys got some other shows coming up too, or well, no, not Flesh and Blood, but let's keep on Flesh and Blood right now. So you kind of hinted that some things are going to continue going. We can probably assume that it's probably going to be a couple of shows here or there. You don't have to spill the beans if you don't want to, but we can assume that it's going to be more live appearances, reunionized appearances. But my question is,
Possibly.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. My question is, you waited a little bit to put the album out on vinyl. Is there the possibility that there's going to be another maybe Flesh and Blood robot tune? Like you're going to do the botch thing?
Well,
Put one song out and then hang it back up again?
I can say that we are going to go into the studio and we have like it's up on like all streaming platforms right now. We have a song that we wrote after the album came out. We actually had a couple, but we could only remember the one because it was actually recorded live at a show, and we put that live recording up on streaming services. We're gonna go into the studio and actually professionally record that song. At least that, but we are, dabbling in writing currently. But it's just a little hard since we're all spread out. But thankfully, modern technology is pretty advanced with that kind of stuff. So we're just tossing ideas back and forth right now and kind of figuring out what direction we want to go 20 years later.
Yeah, that's another question I was going to ask. Is it going to be similar to something like is going to be, you just pick up where you left off 18, 20 years ago, or is it going to be a culmination of things?
Yeah, well, the album we put out forever ago was only meant to be kind of like a stepping off point. It was a mixture of like our early days and then, kind of where we were finding ourselves, and then, more the techie type math stuff was more of the direction we wanted to be in. So I think we're gonna, kind of go more that direction. It's what we're all interested in anyway. So it's going to be similar to like the last couple songs of that album.
All right. That's going to be good to know. It's going to be good. Is it going to be weird? Do you think it's going to be weird trying to revisit that mindset and that writing style for you guys after so long?
I think it'll be a breath of fresh air for me after dealing with Scenic Tuesday stuff. But I don't have a lot of hand in writing the music elements of things. I'm not like very musically talented. All I do is yell into a microphone. But I think it should be fine. It might be a little bit difficult for like our guitar player Nick, because he's in another band called Dust Biters, and they're more of like a kind of rock and roll-ish type band. They're great. They're called Dust Biters. I don't know if I said that or not, but it's a little bit change of pace for him. But I think he'll pick it back up. Based on the riffs I'm already hearing. It sounds great.
Now, did I hear you correctly that you said that Billy was wanting to put your album on vinyl as well? And he had
no, he expressed interest in wanting one.
Oh, okay.
Before we did the Wax Vessel thing.
Gotcha.
So we've always kept like slightly in contact with him, just because he's one of the old homies. So every once in a while we'd hear from him.
He's not the bluegrass star to you all. He's just the kid that came to the shows. Yeah,
just the homie. Yeah. But we still see his ads everywhere on Instagram.
Of course, because
Facebook.
You follow each other, you talk about him, it's going to populate itself in the feed.
Yeah. But I just got a top fan badge on Facebook for him.
There you go. Now if only he needs one for Flesh and Blood on there.
Right.
I'm curious. Did he mention like? I was really curious as to like how his audience would take that. So I was curious. Did he mention anything about that in the days after leading up?
We were all kind of worried. I think we didn't really talk to him too much about it, but I think he might have been a little bit worried too. But he was just stoked to like it was fun for him. He wants to do fun stuff, so he didn't really. He just dove right in. But we were kind of worried about like how his fans would take it. But overall, it seemed from what we saw in like comments and stuff, his fans are awesome, like super supportive of like anything he does. And there was only a couple, trolls in there.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine a lot of people not really understanding it on that end.
Right.
I was curious if
there was a few.
If there was any crossover, if he gained any fans from the bluegrass world, maybe.
We got a ton of followers after that, but
that's cool. Again,
his fans are great. I can't say enough good things about the stuff I've seen from them online.
Yeah, when you're up for a Grammy, when you're winning Grammys, you know what I mean. It's a big
right. Yeah,
you're up for you have a much bigger audience, a lot of different types of people. So Granted, there are going to be some nice people in there, and not all mean trolls on the internet. When in our world, for the most part. So,
Your world
go
specifically.
figure. Go figure. Yeah, well, it is what it is. We just move on. We just kind of move forward. But yeah. So let's touch base onto some current projects and some dabble in the news for that stuff. See you next Tuesday. You put out a. Is it an album or EP that you just recently did, or is it?
It's a remix album.
Yeah,
of
that's what I was thinking.
Distractions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Doing something a little different, taking it back to the '90s.
Hey, content is content, Chris.
Hey man, and it turned out great. I'm super stoked on it.
Yeah.
Granted, I didn't have a lot to do with it besides doing vocals on a couple songs, but it was great. It's just like kind of a electro grind remix of all the other songs.
True, and it's also good because again, that band hadn't put that much out in the last couple of years as well, so it was good to have something for the fans to kind of hold them over until a next possible situation that you guys may be a part of or material you put out.
Yep, we're already. I can say confidently that we're already writing. So
nice.
We're putting stuff together for another release sometime
nice.
in the future.
Is it still going to be on? Would that be on Good Fight as well, or?
Yes, I don't see us leaving them any time ever.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah, they're great. They're such a great label.
What are the? I'm trying to look at the dates. Spring tour with Mouth Breather, Death Club, and Noisy Neighbors, Mutilated.
Death Club,
right? Death Club.
Death Club was the last tour.
You're right. I was reading the one below it, and it's not
Matt.
on this. Yeah, it's not on this one. Sorry. Currently, the band is gearing up. Yeah, you were on the album release show for Meth. Yeah.
It is Mouth Breather, Mutilatred, Noisy Neighbors,
Implosive
Disgorgence,
yeah.
which I am fucking stoked on, and then Thin. I believe that's all of them.
You boys are coming Midwest, and then you're going to head over to a couple of Florida dates, Southeast states. When was the last time you guys kind of came down in this area of the world?
2009, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been quite a while.
Are you guys able to... Because I was thinking the last time we chatted, like touring was going to be kind of like you weren't quite 100% sure as to like what the situation is because, you and Drew and everyone have jobs and this, that, the other. So... but since then, you guys have I've noticed that there's been kind of a pickup of, activity.
We're slowly doing more and more, but with this run, we this year we had to say either we keep doing like long weekends where the guys can take their paid time off on like a Friday and a Monday, or we just do one long haul and get out of the Midwest, which is where we've been like chained to, we can't like go further in that, like 4-day long weekend warrior type shit. So we got an offer for a fest in Houston last year, and we took it, and we just decided to plan a 2-week thing around it. And we're probably not going to be able to do much else for the rest of the year, but at least we get to do this.
Yeah, I mean that's what do you have? It's like 3 weeks worth of dates, right? Yeah, you're.
It's like 2 or 3. Yeah.
April 19th, which is in a couple weeks to the first week of May. So yeah, you got a couple of weeks in there.
Yeah. It'll be interesting.
Yeah. Are you looking forward to coming down this far? And because like you said, the band hasn't been here in over a decade. So what are the feelings of that?
It's going to be exciting to see people again. If whoever, because we used to have regulars at shows all the time, and we've been hearing from a lot of them saying they're coming out. So. We're just stoked to see everybody again and be able to play to new people, the old fans and new fans, So it's going to be great.
Are you still, remind me if I'm wrong, but I believe Drew is the USPS employee and you are the tattooer of the two.
Yeah, Rick and I tattoo.
Yeah, okay. So you're still tattooing and still doing that.
Yes, sir.
How's that been going?
Oh, not too shabby. Just running the shop and doing what I can. It's a little rough with the band stuff. I don't get to do as much traveling for work as I used to because
true.
I'm using all my time to do band stuff. But no, it's still good. Shop's good. I'm busy as ever. So
What's your preferred style of tattoos? Like not what you can do, but your preferred style?
I do more of like an illustrated take on American and Japanese traditional.
Mm. And that's
I
what
can
you.
really
That's
do
like the
whatever.
preferred. That's your preferred style, right? Not your.
I mean, I just like making tattoos, man. But
Oh.
that's what I normally do, like large scale type stuff like that.
Are you one of the guys that like if a band's coming through the Lansing area, do they have to get tattooed by Chris Fox of See You Next
I
Tuesday,
mean, it's
Flesh and Blood
happened,
Rhubarb? Yeah. Who's coming
but
seen you?
I
Yeah,
don't know if I'm the guy.
yeah. Who's some of the guys that or who's some of the people that have come through, on tour or whatever has sought you out?
I just tattooed the meth guys when they came
Oh,
through.
nice.
Tattooed Vincent a couple times from the Acacia Strain. Uh, Danny from Through the Eyes of the Dead. I'm sure there's more. A couple of the guys from A Second Story Window way back in the day. You're asking somebody with a garbage memory. I'm sure there's a couple more, but there's some highlights.
Do you plan on taking some of that equipment on the road with you?
Fuck no, man.
No? Not gonna give
No,
out
I
some
used to
tats
do
on the
that back in
road?
the day, actually, and it was such a hassle, man. I'd rather just have the time off of work.
Not think about
I'm
it.
actually gonna be bringing recording gear to do scratch tracks on this tour.
Oh, cool.
When I'm got downtime at the venues.
Awesome. Yeah, because again, you're putting ideas to paper, pen to pad. Do you use? I'm gonna ask us some tattoo questions because they're in my mind, fresh in my mind right now. But I've seen like they started doing, and I'm not a big tattoo guy. I mean, I have tattoos, but I'm not knowledgeable about the equipment or the process. So I've seen lately that they've started doing like wireless or not wireless rechargeable, equipment. Is that something?
Yeah.
Do you use something like that, or are you still an old?
Yeah, I fuck with that
analog
shit.
guy?
I do. I have traditional coil machines that I use all the time, and I have like the updated wireless stuff too. It's just whatever is gonna efficiently do the job for me. The fastest. I'm gonna use it.
What's the main difference between? I mean, other than obviously one being analog, so to speak, and one being wireless, but is it lighter or is it more efficient? The wireless one, or?
The kind of wireless rotary stuff. It's all like a little motor inside of the machine. It is a lot lighter, a lot smaller. I have more range of motion. I can switch between needle groupings a lot faster because they're little cartridges instead of like a needle on a bar. I find them to be a bit more efficient, and I can get cleaner work out of them. But when I want to do like traditional, like serious traditional based stuff where it's meant to look a little crude, like I will use coil machines and whatnot, and it still produces a solid, clean tattoo. Just it gives it a different feel.
Right. I was curious because, like, obviously, like you're so used to holding one piece of equipment or using one piece of equipment for a long period of time that adjusting to a new piece of equipment would change the way you do something over time, or maybe for a short period of time. But to me, I think the feel of those machines would be drastically different because one is connected to something and the other is, and that does put a bit of like torque or weight on something to where when you're using the other one, it may just feel different. And it has to take some getting used to. And I didn't know if like people had to go back to the pigskin, so to speak, or like, tattoo fake
Yeah,
skin.
I mean, it took some adjustment with the more like updated, newer technology. But it doesn't take much. I've been tattooing for close to 20 years now, so it's just kind of feeling it out for a couple tattoos and making sure everything looks good, and then you just know how it works.
So you guys have released a couple of music videos in the last like couple of months as See You Next Tuesday. Is that something that you guys have liked, or have you enjoyed getting back into that process of like creating this kind of content for the users?
It's fun doing for Relapses, the remix album. We wanted to make sure that we weren't like in any of the videos. We wanted to have it be more artsy stuff, especially because the songs were edited by other artists. It wasn't necessarily like us putting the remixes together, so we didn't want us to be in it. But it's fun to put out like kind of artsy type content. We never got a chance to do any like music video type stuff back in the day. now it's like necessary. But it's cool to just put ideas together and kind of throw them at people and kind of give other people free reign. We did that with these videos too, just like found some people that we really enjoy their work and just said, hey, just go with whatever you're feeling on these, and hopefully we like it. But
Hopefully it comes together.
They all turned out cool, especially our buddy Tony did the last one for the John Connor song, and it turned out fucking amazing. I think he's putting it in a couple of film festivals.
Oh, nice. So you can, get in Cannes, go to France and go to Cannes Film Festival as a special guest. What was it like working with some of these guys you had? We may have spoken about this, but I think it was right before we posted about these songs on the last podcast. So just in case I didn't, what was it like working with like Rich and Kyle on their guest appearances on your previous album? Not the previous album, but the non-remix version, Distractions.
On Relapses or
Relapses?
On Relapse. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say they weren't on Distractions. I personally didn't like work with them. Drew handled a lot of it. I kind of just had to give the okay to let them like rearrange my lyrics into different patterns. I was kind of nervous about it, but they both fucking crushed it. I've only talked to both of them maybe like once or twice. They're super awesome, but yeah, they crushed it, man. It's fucking insane how good those tracks are.
Yeah, and then Body Snatchers has become like a force to be reckoned with. Yeah,
they're great. Kyle's a fucking sweetheart too.
Yeah,
I love him.
Yeah, he was just hanging out with Frank and Tony, Hatebreed Frank, Florida Frank, and then Tony from Municipal Waste. They were all sporting Crocs and showing off their Crocs.
Nice.
That was a funny little photo there. You guys are big into, old media. You guys did the VHS. You put your live set out on VHS last year. How did that? I'll just be honest with you. How many of those bad boys do you have left over?
I don't think there's any. I think they sold out.
Nice. Yeah, I was curious because obviously that's super legacy media there. I don't know anyone who has a
I don't know whoever
VHS player.
Even watched it.
Yeah.
But I think it was more of just like a collector thing,
Yeah, that's cool.
But they were super limited too. I don't even think there was more than like 100, 150, something like that. So
still, that's a lot
like
to
them
move.
selling out. Yeah, but yeah, it was cool.
It's dope.
Turned out cool. As our buddy Blake from Imperfect Video put that out.
Yeah, 100 hand numbered VHS tapes will go on sale June 2nd. Yeah. You mentioned See You Next Tuesday is writing a little bit. Care to elaborate on maybe what fans can possibly look forward to on that particular material that's different from the previous?
I mean, it's definitely not the route we went with Relapses. We're trying to be a little bit more of an experimental type band.
Okay.
I'll say that. We're still the songs that we have so far are devastating. I'll say that. I had heard them for the first. There's a couple, and I heard them for the first time the other day, and they really surprised the shit out of me how fucking brutal they are.
Would it be something like? Did you guys have like an idea of what you maybe need to sound like with your comeback to now where you're like, let's just try something different altogether and be heavier and brutal?
We're just like constantly evolving, really.
Okay.
We don't want to be set in stone as, just like you're going to hear the same shit over and over and over. And we're really just trying to write stuff that we like and put out stuff that we like, and not really concerning ourselves either with, what, we're not trying to appeal to anybody, because not that we ever did that a lot back in the day, but we did consider stuff like that quite a while ago. So now we're just, we're older, we don't really care, and we have kind of free reign to do whatever we want. So it's just for us, and if people end up liking it, sweet. I know from what I've heard so far, the new stuff, it's insane. But yeah, I can't talk how we're being experimental with it. It's kind of a secret at the moment.
No problem. No problem.
But it's going to be an interesting release. I'll say that.
Cool. I just wasn't sure because obviously, like coming back after being on a hiatus or away from the fold for a while, you don't want to shake up the fan base too much. You might want to sound somewhat similar to what you were previously. I didn't know if you were going to detract from that too far, but it sounds like you guys are in your own lane, doing your own thing, and you know what you got.
I don't think any of our releases have even sounded similar to each other anyway. Yeah. So, like, Parasite to Intervals was a huge jump, and I don't think Distraction sounds like either one of those albums. So
yeah,
we're just gonna keep doing stuff like that, just jumping around.
And in that same vein, is it hard for you guys? And again, you don't have that much to do with the actual makeup of the musical material, so to speak, like you said. But is it hard for the group to come up with like material, like a finished song? Like, how long does it take for See You Next Tuesday to have a song completely done in the can?
It used to take a really long time, but now it seems like they're getting cranked out a lot more quickly. I think it has a lot to do with Drew. Just he has his own home studio now, and it's really his. Besides his family, it's his primary focus is just sitting in his studio and writing stuff, and he's obsessed with it. So it's getting knocked out quick.
Isn't his wife also a guitar player? Don't they both play guitar?
She's a vocalist.
Okay. I knew she was in. She did
she's
some
great.
Music.
Yeah,
I knew she guys. Wasn't she featured on some of your stuff? Or I know she did the artwork.
She did vocals on background vocals on a couple songs. I think one or two on Distractions and maybe one on Relapses. And then she took the original kind of photos of our model that we've used for everything since we've been back.
Yeah, and
she's a photographer as well.
Did she do the album artwork or no?
It was a mixture of her and I.
Okay, cool.
Doing the artwork for Distractions. Then we handed the photos off to another artist for Relapses.
Oh, okay. And then they kind of quote unquote remixed it,
Yeah, exactly.
Play on words. So, Chris, what are some of the plans? What are some of the end goals for both for you with Flesh and Blood and See You Next Tuesday?
I don't see there being an end goal for See You Next Tuesday. It's just kind of we're just going till it makes sense to stop. And right now it doesn't make sense to stop. We're having fun. It's been awesome, kind of just reconnecting with all our old friends, and they were all like from a Second Story Window. Those dudes are our family, and getting to do these shows with them and hang out with them again in this type of environment is just amazing. So stuff like that, we just plan on going till it that there's no reason to keep going. As far as Flesh and Blood, that's a little bit more up in the air. We're still trying to figure out what's up. I know, I can confidently say that a goal right now for us is to record at least an EP and put it out. I don't know if it'll be us just putting it out ourselves or if it'll be on some sort of label or whatever, I will say back in the day, our end goal was to sign with Black Market Activities. It seems like Guy is doing something with the label again.
He's up and running. Yeah, he's doing little things.
Yeah. So who knows? But I don't want to, everything's super up in the air, but we are planning on recording at least an EP or something.
That's cool. That's dope. Yeah. God, I had something in my head for you just now, but we were starting talking about Guy and the Black Market. Totally took me off of my thing, but
sorry.
It's all good, man. It's all good. What are some of your dream tours that you would like to do with either Flesh and Blood or See You Next Tuesday in the next, let's say you had 12 months. In 12 months, you could pick, a dream package that you all could do.
Dream package. I know dream package for See You Next Tuesday would probably be something like Rick and I want to tour with Cannibal Corpse so bad. I love Cannibal Corpse so much. Or our homies in Black Dahlia. That would be super sick. Just to be able to hang out with them all the time
Right.
from the second story window, just to relive glory days. It'd be cool to go back out with Red Chord again, shit like that. Yeah, we really wanted to play one of those bot shows. I'll tell you that.
I bet. I wanted to play one. I didn't have a band, you know?
Right? I didn't even get to see one. But,
Damn, that sucks.
Or if Dillinger ends up fucking coming back, that would be fucking amazing. But I think the Dillinger thing might be more of like a Flesh and Blood type.
Yeah, kind of sounds like it.
dream.
Although, who knows? You guys both, I know, here's what I think happens. You all plan that kind of thing, and you're like, you get into the thick of it, and you're like, you know what? This is way more fun than I thought it would be. And then here we are.
Right.
We're just gonna continue it going. That's what I feel like it is. I remember kind of what I was going to ask you from the previous thing, because we had talked about your end goal and whatnot, and you were saying to do See You Next Tuesday as long as you could think about doing it or whatever. How long with how music's growing, how people are listening to music in a different way, whether it's streaming or how they're finding music and all this other stuff. How long do you think you can do like an extreme metal band like See You Next Tuesday or Flesh and Blood for that matter? Like, do you think there's a ceiling on that? Because obviously, like 20 years ago, we could have had the same conversation, and I don't think you or I would have been like, yeah, in 20 years, we're going to be talking about the bands you're in or the bands I liked or any of this stuff.
It fucking still blows my mind.
Right.
Like, this is fucking bonkers that, I'm back here doing this shit again.
Yeah.
But I don't, just judging based on, like you said, from like 2002 to now, like it seems like I'm in the same fucking scene, it hasn't really, a lot of things have changed in the scene, but I'm still like in it. And it hasn't changed too much, like musically. I mean, things have advanced, but like it's all still the same people being stoked, and I think people are just going to keep pushing the envelope, like bands like Frontier and LLNN and stuff like that, like are just going to keep, pushing it to more extreme stuff. And we, with See You Next Tuesday, we're just going to try and keep going with that flow as well. I think the only thing that might like hold me back personally is just age.
Yeah.
And physically being able to do this stuff. Yeah. It's already very taxing playing shows physically. But I guess on my career. But other than that, like we'll just all keep going until we can, really.
Yeah. And by that I mean just like how long will you even not shows per se, but will you like continue to create music and stuff like that? Because I don't foresee the runway ending at this particular point, because it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and hardcore bands pop up in areas that they're not really, that you wouldn't think they're supposed to be in, or metal bands are in areas the same way. But now that we're 20 years removed from us not thinking that this thing was really going to go anywhere, now it does. To me, it just seems like endless. Like, who knows? Hardcore and metal could be the next big pop music, unfortunately. I don't know, but it could be.
Right, yeah. It really, a lot of bands have like really taken off to like extreme levels from when we were, touring with them back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Like I just found out that Spirit Box is like some of the I Wrestle the Bear Once kids, and we toured with them back in the day. Now they're on tour with fucking Korn or some shit. Like, it's fucking wild. Like, I don't see it really going anywhere but up, honestly. Like, people are just going to get more and more interested.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, there's a lot of bands like, God, I can remember like when Killswitch or Parkway or Lamb of God were, just bands that were playing clubs, opening up for bands, other bands that are, no longer around, or smaller bands. Yeah,
exactly.
And now those bands are some of the biggest in the world. And it is
like, I saw Mastodon a long ass time ago at this like tiny little fucking hole in the wall bar fucking, 25 years ago or something.
Mm-hmm.
And now look at them, like shit
It's
like
nuts.
that.
So that tells you, kids, if you can last 20 years of just eating dog shit, you might be able to do something with your life later on. Yeah, but no, I mean, it does. Those bands are still around and still doing it, and they're at where they're at for certain reasons. Obviously, like
Definitely.
there's a reason why Mastodon is, kind of like a prog metal-y band, but is huge like Gojira is, and all these other bands that are just so huge. I mean, hell, Gojira is going to be opening up for Korn here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, the same fucking tour.
Wild,
that we were
dude.
just talking about.
Wild. Well,
yeah.
Chris, I appreciate your time. Is there anything else you kind of want to like just share with the fan base or plug, or I got one for you. Who is inspiring you currently while you are getting geared up for this Flesh and Blood and new See You Next Tuesday stuff? Where are you pulling inspiration from all this
Oh, geez. I don't really listen to a lot of newer stuff. I've been like really set on LLNN for quite a while, since Unmaker came out. Like, I'm still obsessed with it. I generally listen to like a lot of older stuff, but I will say that new Aborted album is fucking killer. Holy shit.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, and Aborted never fucking disappoints at all. Man, but I'm just still listening to older stuff, like older Rotten Sound,
You're allowed to.
Cannibal Corpse, shit like that.
You're able to listen.
I have been like kind of, since Black Market kind of came back on the scene, I've been digging back into like Ed Gein and
there you go.
Pariah.
There you go.
And stuff like that. Just from back in the day, like the fun stuff, and then stuff like Into the Moat and
dude, yeah,
good old techie stuff.
Yeah, the whole reason we even got with Pariah on Lambgoat Records is because I remember playing with them back in the day, and then again I remember all those bands. Like that was like a time, that was like a 2-year period where like Ed Gein, Pariah, Into the Moat, all those kinds of bands, and like all these, even your Flesh and Blood and all these other bands, they just like got lumped into this whole fucking crazy metalcore. That's what metalcore was to me, back in the day.
Right, yeah, same. I didn't realize there was a million different subgenres.
Yeah. That's not real metalcore. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right, yeah. It's like, what?
It's what it is now. But yeah, those were some really fucking good albums, man, back in the day. The Human Abstract and all that stuff. I can remember all that. But yeah, I mean, shit, maybe we have some Pariah See You Next Tuesday shows in the near future. I don't know.
Dude,
maybe we need to.
I'm fucking down.
we could definitely talk about it. We can definitely talk about it. So, Chris, I'll ask you now: is there anything you want to end the podcast with? Plug, shout out, whatever.
I'll just go over the same. Well, I will say I have 2 other bands. One's a studio project called Bohr, Bohr. It's more of like kind of experimental type, heavier music. It's just me and a couple of buddies from another band from around here back in the day called Burning Cities, which was a phenomenal band. We are putting together our album that we started years ago. So that's getting worked on right now. The time that See You Next Tuesday was on hiatus, I joined a power violence band called Dead Church. We did quite a bit, but we kind of disbanded for a little bit. I think we are also finishing up our album that we kind of shelved quite a while ago. And then See You Next Tuesday, we got the tour coming out. Relapses is out. Flesh and Blood. We'll have something sooner or later. I don't really know what's happening, but something is. So.
Awesome. Well, man, keep it up. We will obviously keep you in the loop for anything and everything that you guys got going on. We'll be in touch about any and everything. I know the Pariah boys are pretty interested in whatever you guys got going on in your camp too, just because from back in the day, obviously everyone's from that class. So
Flesh and Blood actually toured with Dustin. Is it Dustin, the bass player? His side project band, Analog.
Oh yeah. Interesting.
Yeah,
hilarious.
Quite a while ago. I know him pretty well.
Yeah, I'll pass that along. He was texting me earlier today about they were trying to think of a April Fool's Day post to post. So we had to edit their original idea because I was like, it would be funny, but I think some of those bands are actually coming back to play. So you may confuse some people, but yeah,
Right.
Chris, I want to thank you again. I'm glad we finally got back on here for your other project, and for those who are interested in seeing Billy Strings play with Chris and the rest of the Flesh and Blood Robot guys, I believe that is on YouTube, is it not? Like someone recorded
Oh yeah, I was gonna say he's not.
No, he's not.
He's
He's
a
not
member of the band.
No, he's not. But I think this video captured the moment. I think there's a video
Yeah,
floating
there
around.
is some videos of like the whole set. My voice is completely fucked because we practiced those 3 days prior to the show, which I'm not used to. But yeah, it was still a fun show. It's awesome to see Billy playing with us. So I think there's 2 or 3 videos of like the whole set and from a second story window.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
there
on
are
YouTube
sets
right
from
now.
that night too. You're correct. Yeah, there are because that was a show for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now we are only looking for. I can't wait to see you at. I can't wait to see you next Tuesday, Flesh and Blood Boys on stage with Billy at the Grand Ole Opry. You know that'll be something to see. I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to that collab. All right, Chris. Have a great weekend or week, I should say, and enjoy it. We'll see you. We'll see you hopefully at Will's Pub in Orlando.
Yeah, dude, come out, man. Come hang out with us in Implosive Disgorgement. It's gonna be so good.
We will.
Sick, man.
Take it easy, dog.
Later, brother.